24/7 Sports, they came out with an article saying that David Montgomery is primed for a breakout season. And I kind of wanted to talk about why Montgomery is so, highly touted by the NFL. His rookie year, he had just over 1K all-purpose yards, and the offense really used him pretty horribly, and he also really only had about 3.3 yards per carry. So there was some things working against him statistically, and also just scheme-wise, the offense was using him badly that could have resulted in that. But we came out and we put David Montgomery on one of our breakout candidates list a couple weeks ago, and I think we kind of should expand on why we consider him to be one of the, a really good running back for us, something that we haven't had in a while, right? And I'm going to set the stage a little bit. In 2020, he faced an abundance of 8-man boxes. Montgomery was really struggling. He had to get all of the yards pretty much on his own. As I said, there was pretty bad scheme usage of him, but he still got to that 1K all-purpose yards point. I think he had like 900 yards total. He got in the end zone quite a bit. But the main thing for me, at least with Montgomery, is his traits. I was a huge fan of him when he was coming out of college. I got to see him in person a couple times, and he's just one of those players where he's so hard to take down, and if you give him even the slightest bit of a hole, he's able to really get a ton of yards and yards after contact. So he's like the perfect build for like a bell cow running back. And I really believe that if this offense can be just average, that's all we need, just average with the passing game, he's going to have a huge season. He's going to have a huge season. And not only is he a really good bell cow running back, but he is a good receiver. He's not the fastest guy, but he's a really good receiver. So you can, make some money with him on go routes and, if you're getting blitzed or whatever, he can take the ball. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. I'm excited for David Montgomery this year.
Yeah, no, I am too. And I think, you brought up a lot of good points, and his biggest drawback is his speed, and it's not like he's unbelievably slow. He's not going to bust off. He might bust off some pretty big runs. He might get chased down, which isn't the end of the world. But if Montgomery is able to get like some holes that he's able to hit with some confidence, it's going to do him wonders. I mean, Montgomery is someone that can consistently break off for you like 5-6 yard runs, which is almost perfect. It's great to have the home run threat that can go out there and break off that 30 or that 40 yard run. That's amazing. But at the same time, Montgomery is someone that can absolutely move the chains, be that bell cow running back like you were saying. And I think last year, mainly where he struggled at times and probably brought his average down a good bit was because that line was not opening up any holes for him. So he had to hesitate and wasn't really able to hit, really keep his momentum, keep his speed up. Like you said, he's someone that's really hard to bring down, loves to fall forward. So if he's able to hit holes with some power, the Bears are able to open up some gaps for him, then he'll be able to absolutely just break off some really nice, moderate runs for this team. And that's going to be, he'll set up the play action, and, also like you said, in the screen game, he can also be used. And, he's really not even an awful pass blocker either. He's not elite, but he's pretty good. So he has basically everything that you want. Like you said, great traits guy. And, honestly, for last year, with some stacked boxes, 8-man boxes, like you said, with all that, basically everything going against him, an offensive line that wasn't open anything up for him, 1,000, all-purpose isn't amazing, but it's still really good given the circumstances.
Yeah, and I agree with you as to that. I mean, I would like to see him get more involved in the passing game. Most of his yards came from the running game, and his average yards per carry were, fairly low. They were actually about the same with Jordan Howard. But the key thing I want you guys to realize, the difference between David Montgomery and Jordan Howard is David Montgomery, he doesn't have the high-end speed as some, absolutely extremely fast running backs like Matt Breida, guys who really are just like these home run threats. But he is still very quick and very explosive. So he can really, have good bursts to the line of scrimmage, whereas that's what we were missing with Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard, he didn't have that. He was very slow, and he wasn't quick either. He wasn't twitchy, he wasn't quick. He was a very slow, power back, essentially. And with David Montgomery, I mean, he really reached essentially the same numbers that Jordan Howard did in the last year we had with him, but David Montgomery did so completely on his own. Jordan Howard had a top 10 offensive line unit that year that was able to provide that for him. With David Montgomery, I'm excited if we can get this offensive line to be even, marginally better. There was just so many times where he was handed the ball and he'd have nothing to do. And now there are a couple of things that you can put on David Montgomery. Maybe he sometimes would try to be a little too fancy and use his twitching ability to really, try to get guys off of him when he should have just fallen forward and gotten the couple extra yards. But at the end of the day, when anybody saw him play, you were just able to see how hard he was able to take down. And he had some really, really nice highlights last year. So I'm hoping that he can build on top of those, and I can absolutely see why people like him as a potential breakout candidate this year.
Yeah, I'd really like to see him get more chances. He had a few, and sometimes he wasn't able to quite capitalize on them, so that's his fault. But I'd love to see him get more chances on the goal line. He's someone that really should be punching in the ball and getting you a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah.
So I'd really like to see him get in the end zone more, even if it's just 1 to 2 yard, dives up the middle. That's going to get him a couple extra touchdowns. Those are important, and the Bears are a team that struggled so mightily in the red zone last year. Getting more production out of him in the red zone in general and then along the goal line would be massive.
It would be absolutely huge. And I think we estimated both of our, projections for David Montgomery. They were probably around, we had the bold take that he might get over 2,000 all-purpose. That was in our bold take segment. That's not our expectations for him. I think that we both kind of set the meter at about 1,500 all-purpose yards. And Reese, I believe you said that you expected him to get about 1,200 actually rushing yards next season as well.
Yeah.
And I can absolutely see that. I don't think that's unrealistic.
Yeah, I'd hope so. I mean, I think with, if Juan Castillo can get some better run schemes in there and get some better run blocking from him, I think it's definitely manageable. And yeah, about 1,500 all-purpose sounds about right, and I think would be an excellent season for him.
Hey guys, like our video, subscribe, and check out our bi-weekly podcast on Apple Podcasts. Thanks.